Okay, this is the April 21st, 2021 Land Acquisition Commission meeting, and it is 6:05 as we start our meeting. First item on the agenda is call the meeting to order. Appointment of alternates is necessary. We have 5 voting members in attendance. We have a quorum, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. So stand if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our January 21st meeting. And do we have any discussion on that? Or any motion on that, I should say first.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as proposed or submitted.
Okay. We have a second?
By the way.
Tara will second.
Great, Tara, thank you. Discussion? Anyone see anything that needs to be changed? I looked through it. It looks pretty good. With no discussion, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from January 21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are accepted unanimously. Great. Moving on swiftly. Chairman's report. So, thank you all for being here today, tonight. It is April 21st. It's amazing. It's although it feels cold outside right now, it's good to have spring back and warm weather back. I am hopeful, and Linda and I were talking before the meeting started that, it'd be good to start seeing people again. I've gotten obviously very used to kind of interacting with people visually on video conference calls. It's even better when we can actually get into the same room or be in front of each other outside or whatever it might be. And hopefully the July meeting, our July 21st meeting, we can get ourselves together in the same room or in the same area. We could even meet outside. It'd be just be great to get this group together. So I look forward to that. On more business related to land acquisition, I'd spoken last time about what is our role with Land Acquisition Commission, and following the meeting in January, I did reach out to our first select woman, Brenda, and I did have a conversation with her in regards to what does she envision us doing, and what is our role as we move forward. And she didn't really have a clear path for us, but she, certainly came back to me and said, "Why don't you guys present a vision for what land acquisition's role should be?" And just to take it, some perspective, it's been now around for about 22 years, Land Acquisition Commission, and it was formed really because of the need to acquire a lot of key properties in town, and it was funded through grants from the state, and there was money to purchase properties. But really in the past decade or so, it's been a lot more mundane and just kind of looking at properties that maybe come before the town. And certainly during the Brian Kerry administration, we had the opportunity to seek out properties with state grant money. But, the landscape looks a little different now. And certainly after my meeting is when the Conservation Department, as we knew it, kind of was, kind of redesigned, if you will. So what I'm trying to say today is that what I'd like to do is solicit input from you guys as to what our role should be. And what I'll do as a follow-up to this meeting is send out, again, on the town website, there is information in regards to the Land Acquisition Commission. And, under the About Commission page, it talks about our duties and what our duties include. We're an advisory board, advising the first selectman. And there's some other duties that revolve around that, but what really should our role be? And Cassandra had brought up in the past that there maybe should be some sort of formalized process for acquiring property, so that, and that could obviously, that would certainly involve the Land Acquisition Commission, but what should our role be in that? And if a property is maybe potentially going to be developed that should be kept as open space, what is the role and what's the process that the town should undertake, and who's involved? I think that's something we should try to develop a little bit more, and I'd love input from you guys on what that would look like. So that would be first, and envisioning what should land acquisition look like, what could our role be, what specific processes should maybe we be involved with, and then secondly would be maybe perhaps us being proactive in soliciting or looking at the acquisition of property that might benefit the town. I know of 3 properties recently that I've identified that would make sense. There's a property up on Black Rock Turnpike in between the Merritt and really the Black Rock Commercial Center, where it's about 12 acres with one owner. That concerns me. There are wetlands on the property, but that's something I think we should look into. The Pansy Road Farm that we talked about, I think in the fall, is still in play, and that's near Osborne Hill Elementary School. I had a resident reach out to me regarding the Ross property, the old Ross farmstead at the corner of Stilson and Mill Plain, if you know the property. It's about 4 acres, kind of, at one point was a working farm, I believe, but that is another, property that could be looked at. So I would encourage you guys to say, what are there properties in town that you see perhaps that could be potentially looked at as maybe not that we're creating a target list, but maybe a list of properties that we should look into further. So kind of a long-winded way of me saying that I think Brenda Kupchik, our first select woman, asked us to maybe come back to her with some ideas. Come back and either present to the selectmen, or either present directly to her on some ideas of what this commission could look like a year down the road, 6 months down the road, 2 years down the road.
So, Mike, this is Linda. Are you thinking of setting up a protocol for contacting owners, cold calling?
It's a good question. I think we need to discuss it. Underneath our duties on our website, it says soliciting the acquisition of parcels of real property by purchase or donation. If I read that, it would seem like we have the ability to maybe reach out to property owners. I would be perhaps hesitant to do that initially without speaking to the town attorney, but and certainly we don't have any funds to go purchase property, but perhaps we could begin a discussion with a property owner about what their plans are.
I kind of think if anyone know anybody who works in the not-for-profit world and is used to reaching out for donors, and how they go about doing that. Because in a way, what we might be looking for is a donation of some sort.
Ideally, sure. It would be great. It's a good question. I've always been hesitant because I don't think I am necessarily in a position to go reach out to a property owner on behalf of the town. But, the organizations like Aspetuck certainly are doing that every day, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's something that maybe we should discuss further, or come up with some concrete idea of what we would like to see our ability to do, or do we refer back to the first selectman's office, first select woman's office, and the town attorney?
Well,
say, hey, we're
or
recommending it.
Aid and abet them with some sort of a letter that they could send out, or publicize a program of being, for a property like that, giving the town right of first refusal at least. So like the property on High Street, the town would have been interested in it if we could have?
Interesting. Yeah, exactly.
Well, they were approached. Just by the way, they were approached on that property, and they were not. But the hypersensitivity to the 830G may be changing people's perspectives, right? To be more proactive now.
Yeah, and that's what and this is Kevin. I'm sorry I joined late. I didn't want to chime in and interrupt during the initial points of the meeting, but I was thinking the same. Like maybe it's not quite we move into a proactive role of looking for properties on a holistic basis, and I think it's, kind of, Mike, you've been ear to the ground, and people do come to you and know of your role, and if we see things open, I think it's worth bringing up amongst ourselves, but maybe it's more we stick with the advisory role, but move in the direction of what's our scope of what we're looking for, and, hypersensitivity to 830G, for example, and Brenda's recent email, I had a couple direct emails with her on the state proposals for zoning, and then she sent that recent email out to town, and she said she had spoken to you, Mike, and definitely we're on her radar more, which is great. I just think when we think about that, like what's our purview? Is it maybe the advisory role branches out of the conservation point, which is our main goal, but the other point could just be the preservation of land for the use of the town as the town would decide it with regards to development in any direction. So maybe it's not always, I don't know if, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if our goal is only for conservation purposes for land acquisition or if it's for purposes of at the town's best judgment. So the example I think of is the open lot along Post Road on the train track that now has a sign on it, right? I think about that giant open lot that I know we talked about last year, and knowing that the ground underneath is not in the best shape. I think there were some, kind of issues with what's underground there from perspective of it being, kind of clean open space. But looking at the way things are going with zoning, I look at that as a obvious potential for a rather large development if someone wanted to, right along the train track. It fits within the kind of the parameters of what the zoning rules are moving toward. And that one, purely from a traffic and kind of resource strain perspective in that area, probably wouldn't be great, right? So, like, what's the town's view on that? And can we just be a funnel for those kind of thoughts and kind of distilling down to bring to kind of town leadership and at least make sure we're another kind of resource of keeping our eyes open for those kind of things?
This is Linda again, and following up on that, I've been looking into the Affordable Housing Commission in town, and part of their set of what they do and their goals is to coordinate with us, which I was kind of surprised at.
Yeah.
So
there's
I would
a
say we're
town
doing
meeting
more
tonight.
than just open space.
I'm sorry, Tara?
Oh, sorry, I was getting a kickback. There's a town meeting tonight that I saw, or some sort of meeting that you can dial into at 7 o'clock. That was all like a Q&A about Fairfield.
Linda, did you speak with Carol Martin?
No, I was in contact with Carrie Mackover, who's on the commission, and then I'm finishing up this year on this commission, and I'm considering, I've put my name in the hat for joining that one.
Oh, good for you.
Well done, Linda.
It's something I have a lot of opinions on. I don't know if they want them or not.
I don't know what meeting that is tonight, Tara, but something to look into after this.
Yeah, I just saw it on Facebook, and they were having like a panel of people. I don't think the town put it together, but somebody did.
Is it zoning related, or is it more generic?
No, just to kind of explain what's happening to the town and why, and I think it was just an informative thing. I saw it online.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was to inform people about what zoning is, some of the basics and the history of zoning in Fairfield.
And Kevin, is that you that's on now?
Yeah, Kevin's here.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, I thought so. And just to follow up on your observations and what you had said, our purview does go far and wide. I mean, it's acquiring property for the town. It doesn't have to be conservation property. I remember speaking to Mike Tetro a few years back when the former Elks Club on Brookside was up for sale, and there were thoughts that maybe that could be repurposed as maybe a police substation or something. It never happened, but there are opportunities like that where the town could use a commercial piece of property for a different purpose, and that's where I think we should be more involved. And I think we're not necessarily all the time looked to. And I think when we get to new business, I mean, one of the things that my conversation with Linda in January, with Brenda in January, has made a difference in us being maybe more visible, and perhaps that's a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on that? It seems like everyone's got some ideas. What I'd like to do, and it seems like we do have this discussion every couple of months. I would like to try to formalize it. So if you want to take some thoughts, I'd really ask you to shoot me a note or shoot the entire board a note, commission a note of some thoughts and some ideas, and we can start to really maybe build a list and maybe have some structure to it. In addition, it could be properties. If you know some properties that you think we should look at or at least take note of, let's look at those as well. I have my 3. I'd love to add some additional to that. But please, I'd ask you all to maybe give it some thought and send me a follow-up email. I will as well send an email out encouraging that. Any other questions or thoughts on that?
Is there a connection point we should make to the Affordable Housing Commission if part of their role is interacting with us? Should we be thinking about opening on a communication there? And I don't know if, Linda, you'd be the right person to start that and potentially continue it if you move over there next year. Is there something we should think about there to formalize a little bit?
I think so. I mean, I was just wondering when the town bought the building for the new alternative high school, and it has a bunch of land that's
right.
Open space. I was kind of thinking, gee, wouldn't that be great for, putting a small housing development in there. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's land transferring, and it's just like, who's determining what it's for? I have no idea, but I don't follow all the minutes from the Board of Selectmen, which I think is the best way to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I could, if I get there. I don't know that I will be granted a position, but I'd be happy to liaison. And I'll ask I'm going to be chatting with the chairman of the commission with questions and things in the next month. So I'll just chat him up on this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would certainly be. I mean, I'm not aware of any, dotted line or even direct line between us and Affordable Housing Commission, but it makes sense. It certainly does. If they want to purchase some properties to provide affordable housing, you think we could play a role in that for sure?
Right. What I've heard is that they've really been more like us lately. They've just been an advisory, and they've been reviewing these projects that come in. But they really haven't had any kind of a proactive role in the recent past. But they are working currently on updating the town's plan for affordable housing. And when we were done, I was going to listen to their last meeting, and they're considering hiring a consultant for that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's something that we could include as a bullet point for sure if we were to present maybe an updated land acquisition commission role. Regular communication or dotted line interaction with affordable housing to work together to provide opportunities to build affordable housing in Fairfield where it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, great. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Okay. We'll move along then in the agenda. Thank you all for your participation there. That was great. We move into new business. And I do mention this because the 2780 Reading Road, was brought to our attention by Jim Wendt. Jim Wendt is the town planner. I think that is a result that he's reaching out to us as a result of our discussion with Brenda, which is great. And so what is up for discussion is there is a subdivision application in front of TPZ in regards to a 5.1 acre piece of property, putting in another house on that property, and that triggers the open space set-aside regulation. That's Section 2.3 of the town subdivision regulations, and what it requires is either 10% of the property to be set aside as open space and deeded to the town, or a fee in lieu of open space property. A lot of time developers won't have the ability to donate 10% of the property, and so they'll pay a fee. A lot of times there's additional property left over, and developers will deed that to the town as open space, but the town has a right to determine what they want to see. So that said, I guess we can just start with the discussion. Are there any questions or thoughts on this?
This Linda, I thought looking at the map that it looked like a good parcel and that it was going to protect that little stream that runs through there.
Right, there is a little bit of wetlands on that, correct. It's a 5.1 acre piece of property. They're putting in another house. I think I did include the map, right, to you guys?
Yes.
So that the subdivider is proposing a 0.0527 acre parcel that fronts Brett Road. Half of the proposed parcel is mapped wetlands. So that is certainly a plus there. It's a nice piece of property.
Are we allowed to walk it when we're doing this?
Hello?
Good question. I'm not sure.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Sorry, I'm just listening. Excuse me.
Okay. Linda?
Oh, I was just wondering, are we allowed to walk it? I was curious, but I am assuming that conservation dealt with the fact, is it all clean? Has anybody been dumping there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you could probably walk it if you connected with the property owner or just identified yourself as, a member of the commission. My hope is that maybe we can come to a recommendation tonight from our commission for it. I did speak with staff, Ed Jones at Conservation, and I usually look to them for some guidance on what they're thinking with this. And as I put in the agenda notes, the two thoughts there was, or one thought really was that there was no connectivity with existing town open space. And so that was to staff at Conservation was significant, in that it would be kind of an orphan open space parcel, not necessarily near any other town-owned open space. And because of that, the understanding I received was that Conservation staff would be recommending a fee in lieu of open space property. So what's before us is whether we would recommend that the town pursue this open space parcel or not pursue it. Any other comments or thoughts on this?
This is Kevin. Do we know, I think two questions. One is looking at the map. Is it just simply where the conservation easement, lot 1, lot 2 circles are that we'd be considering?
No, it's the parcel that there's kind of a wing almost like that connects with Brett Road.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, Mike, the conservation easements are staying in. Okay. The conservation easements are staying in place.
Understood.
Correct.
Yeah. So the open
land
space is that right.
The land is orphaned, yeah. Even from building, it's really orphaned because it would be. Well, I guess they could come in from Brett Road, but they'd have all the wetland issues.
Mm-hmm. So if that was, do we know, is the fee just a percentage of the land values that we see in the letter? How is that fee calculated if we were to agree with that decision?
I'm sorry, Kevin, rephrase that? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I'm just thinking like what's the cost benefit. So if the conservation staff is saying they will be recommending the fee in lieu of open space, if we went down that path and said, okay, what is the fee value potentially to the conservation department versus the value of what the open space might be, obviously intangibly so, but is that kind of their line of thinking?
I think that the thought is yes, the town could see some dollars flow into the open space fund in lieu of this parcel of property. What that amount would be it's in section 2.3.
I believe it's defined by statute, Mike. I don't remember what it is, but I believe it is a fixed percentage based on.
Is it flat?
No, it is.
Or appraised value. Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now. I put that. So payment and fee of lieu of. It's in the event that such a fee is required by the commission, such payment shall be equal to not more than 10% of the fair market value of the land to be subdivided prior to the approval of the subdivision. The fair market value shall be determined by an appraiser jointly selected by the commission and the subdivider. A fraction of such payment, the numerator of which is one, and the denominator of which is the number of approved lots in the subdivision, shall be made at the time of the sale of each approved lot. Meaning that there's a fee in lieu of, that fee is determined, and then once the lots are sold, that fee is then payable to the town.
Got it. So 10% of the land value that we see on the appraisal.
Correct. I didn't see that number. What is that?
Page 2 of the. Yeah, so it looks like the land value is 527 plus 369, so we're just about 900.
Right. So perhaps in the 80 to 90K range.
Mm-hmm. And then if we did that, there'd be the fee, and then the property would be, I guess, what would happen to the property if not acquired by the town? It would just become part of one of the property owners for the new lots.
They could do that. They could donate it to ASPCA.
But it wouldn't be a third. It's not like there's no option here for another house. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. What's the potential result? 2 houses is going to be it, right? So it could potentially be donated, and we could get a fee. So in terms of like what's our goal, good chance that it's getting conserved regardless, and we could probably get a fee out of it as opposed to, right?
That's correct. Right. It's a property. I believe it's 2-acre zoning up in that part of town.
Yeah.
So that parcel could not be developed. Plus, as Linda noted, there is a wetland intercourse on that piece of property, or wetland stream. So that prohibits any sort of development as it is. But this might be a case. I mean, again, I tend to lean towards what conservation staff recommends, just because they are the ones that have got feet on the ground, typically on the property, looking around, and also understanding, is it an additional asset to the town? Does it add to our existing open space inventory? And as we've talked about before, our best properties, our most highly valued properties, are the ones that are adjacent or near existing town-owned open space. Additional thoughts?
I think that's
comments?
right too.
I'm sorry, Linda?
I think that's right too. When I first looked at this map the other day, I thought it was the whole back conservation easement that was being set aside as open space, but it's really just the one leg of it.
That's
when
correct.
It sees a half acre. Yeah.
It's almost like that was when the lot was subdivided. That was almost like access, perhaps, to the back half of the property. from Brett Road. But it's a little piece of an orphan, perhaps an orphan open space parcel, if the town were to acquire it.
I move that we stick with the staff recommendations and they request a fee in lieu of open space.
Yeah, second that.
Okay, just second on the floor. That's great. Discussion will follow. I think what I would like to do, Linda, is perhaps rephrase the motion. So I don't think staff has formally recommended yet.
Okay.
Going back to my minutes. As I put, they will be recommending, but it hasn't formally been recommended yet. So I think we should act on our own, if we could, or just act knowing that in the back of our head. So if you want to rephrase it, perhaps.
Do you want to phrase it?
Oh.
You want to do it?
Would it be our recommendation is that the town moves in a fee in lieu of. How about we recommend the town does not accept this property as open space. Let me think this out for a second. Is there any other discussion on that while it's open?
Hello?
I do agree with the concepts that the sellers just trying to will be able to dump swampland or wetlands and reduce their tax base, so it makes the property more desirable, right? And then they save the fee. But there's no benefit to.
Correct.
So the motion would be due to the orphan nature of this half acre. We recommend that a fee in lieu of is accepted.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah. Hi, this is Michael. May I speak?
Who is this?
Hi, this is Michael Chom. I'm a member of the public. May I speak?
Michael, there is no public comment during these meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Linda, due to the orphan nature of this property, the commission recommends that the town move for a fee in lieu of open space property. That is the motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, is all those in favor of that motion say aye?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Cool. All right, that is new business. And now to follow up on some old business. So we actually have some old business to discuss. And moving swiftly in order, 150 Villa Avenue. We voted on this last time to recommend that the town move forward. It was actually in our minutes. I heard from a member of the engineering department that they are in contact with the realtor who's representing the property owners. Again, this is a property that would be acquired to help mitigate Rooster River flooding down on Villa Avenue. So the town is in discussions with the realtor and the property owner. There is there isn't any sort of traction in a forward direction, but there is discussion ongoing. So per our approval and per our recommendation and per the town's efforts to try to provide some relief for the Rooster River, that property is in motion, perhaps moving forward. Any questions on Villa Avenue? Okay. 145 Grace Street. Those of you that have been on the commission for a while, and we've talked about this, it seems like for a long, long time, and it's been in play with the town for a long, long time. We made a motion in October 2018 to acquire that the town should acquire the property with conditions. What is happening now is that the conservation staff is putting together bullet points. I think there's 14 bullet points in favor of acquiring the property, and that is now moving through the town approval process, which involves selectmen, finance, RTM, etc. So it looks like 145 Grace will be formally acquired by the town again, but it's moving forward. Any questions on that property? Okay. Last one, 760 Oldfield. Another success story of ours from a year or two ago. This is the property on Oldfield Road. I just wanted to add that, I don't know, Brian Carey had spoken to us about this as well, but from the Conservation Commission December 16th minutes, the Tucker Fund donation of $18,500 to the Fairfield Conservation Department for the construction of a bird blind on town open space at 760 Oldfield Road. We had heard a lot about the Tucker Fund donating the money. It officially happened. It does look like that piece of property on Oldfield will, be used in a conservation-friendly manner with a bird blind, and that's really cool. It was owned by the same owner for a number of years. We had been seeing the property come before us for a number of years, and the fact that the town now owns it through grant money from the state is a good thing, and I'm glad we were involved in that. Any questions on 760 Oldfield Road?
Do you know, did the grant money finally come through?
It has not. Good question, Linda. No.
I'm thinking the Brett Road money maybe could go towards paying back that.
Yeah, you know what? It all goes to the right place. But the state, that's money coming from the state, and I think it's just been delayed. But what I learned from staff is that they are still working on getting that money back. But it's moving in the right direction. Any other questions on Oldfield or any of the old business?
I have one question on old business that we discussed in January, but I think it was basically a dead end for us. I just wanted to revisit it one more time. The Mill Hill property, obviously, it was a large piece of land. I went to take a look at it just to kind of see what the Mill Hill Terrace property that we had talked about, just to kind of see what it was, and I think that one's probably it's obviously a bigger decision than some of these other smaller ones. We just wanted to know if there was any other update on where things were trending with that one.
Yeah, and I'll look for comments on that as well. I do know that the diocese, the Episcopal diocese that owns it, along with Trinity, they are still in discussions on what to do. I believe Carol Martin from Fairfield Housing Corp may have a contract in place to build, but I do think the diocese is looking to preserve part of the property. It's of interest to me as well. I'm a board member with Mill River Wetland Committee, and I know that it's within the watershed or nearby, and we're certainly aware of it as well, trying to facilitate discussion and dialogue where we can. But it's an interesting piece of property. It's about 8 acres, and it's in play right now. Does anyone else have any update on that or anything that they've heard on 461 Mill Hill? Kevin, have you heard anything?
No, I mean, I was just one I wanted to revisit. I remembered it, and what we had discussed was that the developer offer was significantly above likely market value. So that was one of those probably tricky spots for the town to get involved in because the dollars are pretty big, right?
I would agree. I mean, it brings it back full circle. I mean, if we were ever to acquire property, it's going to be, it's going to have to be bonded for the most part, and it's going to require approval by all town boards and commissions. So, and certainly any sort of property up on Mill Hill is going to be a significant investment. But that property, its fate has not yet been decided. They do want to sell. The diocese does. I think right now it's a question of whether they may, preserve the back half of it and develop the front portion of it. But I think that's still to be determined.
And I wonder, just thinking out loud here, as we all think about potentially kind of updating what our goals are for the commission, is there some awareness portion of our role where you have something like this that we can't unilaterally advise for a decision on it because the scope of it is too large, but is there some awareness portion of just simply making sure that various town bodies are, knowledgeable about this and whether it's even a potential public awareness? I just think about the item related to the building down at Nkoa and Post Road, right? And there was a potential, I'm sure everyone's heard about this, there was a potential proposal for a development to basically abut the theater, or maybe it's the next building over, but it was a potential for housing development to take over one of the cafes there. And when the public notice went out about it, basically the response was overwhelming to the point where the developer just withdrew the proposal. Not that works on something of this scale, but I just think potentially part of our role could be awareness within the town bodies, and then on a case-by-case basis, potentially public awareness.
And he only withdrew it because it's requiring a zoning change, and so he realized he shouldn't have a proposal in the same hearing where they're still considering the zoning change.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's basically asking for a zoning change just for that site, for that road.
So he's going to
public comment is important.
Yeah. Kevin, write those thoughts down. I think they are good.
I will.
I know that Linda can probably back me up on this, but we used to participate in Earth Day events. We had a table. We used to have a flyer to hand out, or a brochure that we developed to build awareness for what we do. I think awareness. I think we need more awareness, and I'm in the advertising business. I mean, we should be self-promoting ourselves, and maybe that's on me. But as a commission, what are some ideas with that we should do? Because I think a lot of property owners might look to us if they, have an idea or a thought of seeing their property conserved. Maybe we can help.
Mm-hmm. Mike, it's Tara. I don't know if you heard, we briefly talked about this in our office meeting, that the town, the state has proposed a kind of a buyer's conveyance tax that I think is going through starting July 1st, and it'll be, it'll be on to the conveyance tax, but it's going to be, I think, maybe another quarter point. And I had read somewhere briefly that the town was talking about maybe banking that money for land acquisition.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
That had come up a couple of years ago as well, as a voluntary, maybe each town.
Well, this is going to be state mandated, so the town is going to be taking in an extra quarter point. It's just what they do with the funds.
Do you have any additional information on that?
No, this is just kind of conversation that I've overheard and I've kind of read and run into, like online, just about people trying to actually stop it because they think it'll really hurt the real estate industry, because now it's the buyers, they're trying to push this on the buyers, but hopefully it'll stay to the seller's side. It's just who's going to pay it.
Right. Yes, and that kind of goes. That a couple of years ago, I think it was an opportunity for towns to, on a town by town basis, maybe institute that additional conveyance fee or tax. But there was resistance to it because it was adding additional, taxes or fees, and it would discourage maybe buyers or sellers. If it's state mandated, now maybe it's a different story, and now maybe it's a conversation with the selectmen on what they're doing with
right.
it.
Where is that money going to go? And maybe we can allot it to land acquisition.
Well, and that's to bring it back home. Ideally, in the town budget every year, there would be some sort of mechanism to distribute money to a land acquisition budget or fund that would allow the town to move swiftly, perhaps not get away from bonding, but at least have enough money in place to move on a piece of property. I know that some neighboring towns already have that. I think Westport perhaps does.
Wasn't it Reading that had the good town? I think it was Reading that has a really good plan in place, and it made it easier for them also to get grants then.
Right. So these could be recommendations of ours to the town as they envision the next decade. What what is land acquisition's role, but B, what should the town be doing to help fund that or facilitate that? Terry, if you find anything more on that, let me know. I'll also do a little bit of research on that.
Yes, I will.
Great, cool, wonderful. Any other thoughts? Great, good discussion. As I said earlier, I really hope that we can all maybe get together in July. I could host at my house. But
I was going to say maybe we could do it outside somewhere.
That's what I'm saying.
We should all be vaccinated by then anyway.
I had my second shot today, so I would love to do that. So until then, I will follow up with an email to the commission. I'll provide just some additional thoughts and reinforcing some thoughts that I had tonight. But really encouraging you guys from some of the interaction tonight to write down ideas and let's see if we can actually put this into some structured format, and we can talk about next steps. But thank you all, and this hereby ends. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. This is Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Second?
I second that.
Thank you, Tara. We are, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a great night. Appreciate you all being here. We'll talk soon.
Good.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.